Welcome, welcome, welcome back to another episode of the Ian Fritz Show. This is going to be a fun one, guys. The slate for this show right here, it's going to be a shorter episode. We're going to tackle the 10th worst thing about college football, and that is the overtime rules. Let's get into it.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal.
The 10th worst thing about college football is the overtime rules. This is episode 1. Episode 2 is going to be the ninth worst thing, and so on and so forth, eventually going down to number 1. But right now, we've got the overtime rules. They're the 10th worst thing about college football at this moment in time. Now, first off, we've got to talk about the overtime rules. What are they? And you're asking, Ian, we know what the overtime rules are. Well, some of you don't. So I'm covering all my bases, my bases, if you will. So we're going to talk about what they are, why it's an issue, and how we can fix them. Okay. So we've got what they are. Okay. So you go to overtime, tied 28-28 going into overtime. Okay. You've got team A, team B, let's just say Ohio State and Oregon for this example here. Ohio State is playing at Oregon. So Ohio State's going to call the toss in the air. Boom, heads. Okay. That's what they called. It's heads. They say, we want to play defense. So they're like, okay, you're playing defense. Oregon, which side of the field? They're like, we're going to play on the east side of the field. So that's what they do. Ohio State's on defense. Oregon's on offense. They're starting at the 25-yard line. Let's say Oregon scores a touchdown. They can either kick the extra point or go for two. Doesn't matter. It's up to Dan Lanning and that crew over there. They can decide what they want to do. Okay. But after they score or turn the ball over or have a turnover on downs, Ohio State has a chance starting at the 25-yard line to either score or turn it over or have a turnover on downs or kick a field goal, whatever it is. You start at the 25-yard line. Oregon has a chance. And then if whatever they do, Ohio State has a chance to match it or better it, depending on what happens. Once you finish the first overtime, if a team wins, obviously the game's over. Let's say Oregon scored 7 points and Ohio State didn't get any. So Oregon wins, obviously. But let's say Oregon gets 7, Ohio State gets 7. We're going into overtime number 2. This is where it gets a little tricky for everybody out there. You start at the same 25-yard line, but if you score a touchdown in the second overtime, you have to go for 2. No options, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You've got to go for 2. Now, we're starting to get in a little sticky situation. Why are you forcing somebody to go for 2? We're going to get into it, but these are the rules right now. You have to go for 2 if you score a touchdown in the second overtime. Let's say they tie again after the second overtime. We're going to the third overtime, and you're probably like, yes, we start at the 25-yard line. We get to see him play football again. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You don't get to see that again. We're not seeing that at all. What they do, starting in the third overtime, currently with the overtime rules we have right now, and the abomination they are, you set up at the 2-yard line, 3-yard line, and you go for 2. You do a 2-point conversion. And you're thinking to yourself, are you sure? Are this actually the rules, Ian? These are the actual rules we play by in overtime right now? It is. It is. You get to the third overtime, we do away with 99% of the college football game, and we say, you line up on the 2-yard line, and you give me your best play from 2 yards away. That's how we're going to end this football game. That's what it's going to be. Now, got to get into a little bit of the history of the overtime in college football so we know the backstory, okay? From 1996, pre-1996, no overtime, ties. 1996 to 2019, you start at the 25-yard line and you go until somebody wins. Just like the first overtime. It was basically the first overtime, but for every overtime. So you start at 25-yard line. Team A can either score, turn it over on downs. Team B has a chance to do one of those 3 same things. If you tie after the first overtime, you do it again until a winner is crowned. That was how we did it, 1996 to 2019. Now, in 2019, the NCAA was like, this isn't good. Everybody's loving this a little too much. Let's take it away. Let's take it away because that's what the NCAA does best is they ruin everything for everybody. They're on the list and they're pretty high up. Spoiler. Anyways, 2019, 2022, 2021, you had to go for two starting in the third overtime. So you had two overtime periods, the same. And then third overtime, after you score a touchdown, you have to go for two. You have to. And then after five overtimes, you start doing the alternating 2 point conversion. And then a winner's crowned. Okay. Now, in 2021, they made a change. So this is what we have currently, what I just described. 2 point conversions after you score a touchdown, starting in the second overtime. And then in the third overtime, we just do away with 99% of the game and say, you got to just, it's a 2 point conversion. Nothing you can do about it. You just got to try and get 2 points to win the game. And that's it. That's the game. Now, why did they change the rules in the first place? What was the NCAA and whoever decided to do this? What was their decision? Why did they do it? Their main goal, they've said this, it's all over the internet. They said, we want, some of these games get a little long when we're starting from the 25-yard line. Let's try to shrink those games up and shorten the length of these games. Because some of them, the two or three that are getting 5, 6 overtimes, we're going to 3 a.m. Now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, 3 a.m. college football, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can't get anything better than 3 a.m. college football. Maybe two 3 a.m. college football games. It would be glorious, glorious, absolutely glorious. Instead, they were like, no, no, no. We gotta get these games over by 12 o'clock. Everybody's got to go to bed. Everybody's got to go to bed. Let's shorten these games up. So then they implemented the alternating 2 point conversions, and sure enough, you give somebody one play in overtime, it shrinks the game time. It does. It shrinks the game time. Now, why is this an issue? Why is it number 10 on the top 10 biggest issues with college football right now? Why is it an issue? Number one, the biggest issue we have right here. We get one overtime of actual college football. The first overtime simulates the best we can a game. Now, you're saying, Ian, why don't they just kick it off? Well, overtime shouldn't be the exact same as the actual game itself. Okay, it is its own thing in and of itself. It should be separate. I like that we're doing something different. I like that. Now we started doing a little wonky stuff in 2021, 2019 when they started throwing these alternating 2 point conversions around. We get into that and it's a little crazy. Okay, makes no sense. Now we have one overtime of actual football. That's what every overtime should be football. We should be playing football in every single overtime and not these 2 point conversions. That's the biggest issue. These alternating 2 point conversions. That's not what we should be doing. You shouldn't end the game by going back and forth. 2 point conversion over here, 2 point conversion over there, 2 point conversion, 2 point conversion. That's sad, guys. You tune into a college football game right now, you turn on 4 overtimes, you're like, yes, I have a chance to see somebody win on a 28-yard touchdown pass, third and 15. They're down by 6. No, you don't. You don't, because in the fourth overtime, they're at the 2 yard line. They get one play. You can't get to third down. You can't do it. Third down doesn't exist in the third overtime anymore. It doesn't exist. You take away third down. Third down's the biggest down in all of college football. You take it away in the biggest moment of the game. What are we doing? What are we doing? Now, number 3, 4, and 5, biggest reasons why this is an issue are the exact same. Because it shortens the game. Who is asking to shorten the college football game? We want college football as long as we can get it. That's what we want. We don't want these short games. Nobody's a fan of short games. What is that? I want to watch college football for as long as I can. And if that means we're in 15 overtimes and it's 7 a.m. the next day, then it happens to be 7 a.m. the next day, which has never happened, by the way. That's an extreme case. Okay, never happened, and I don't think it ever will. Obviously, not with the current situation we have on our hands. This abomination of these rules right now. Now, in 2022, from 2002 to 2023, these are some stats about games going past one overtime. So the first overtime has always been the same. It's always been the same. Now, when we get into the second overtime, that's when things started to change a little bit. Now, 2002 to 2023, we had 121 games go into 2 overtimes. We had 53 games go into 3 overtimes, 14 games go into 4 overtimes, 4 and 5 overtimes, 2 into 6 overtimes, 5 into 7 overtimes, and 1 into 9 overtimes. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that 9 overtime game was probably 110 to 92. No, no, it wasn't. It was 20 to 19 or 22 to 19. It was an abomination of college football. Just quite frankly, it was. Now I enjoyed every second of it. I enjoyed every second of it, except for the alternating 2 point conversions. But other than that, it was just magnificent. Just magnificent. 9 overtimes? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hand it to me on a platter. I love that. Now, 39% of the multiple overtime games get into that third overtime. So every 2 out of 5 overtime games we get handed, every 2 out of 5 multiple overtime games we get handed, which in the grand scheme of things is not a huge sample size of college football right now. It's not. Multiple overtime games, very minimal. Now, every 2 out of 5 of those multiple, though, 40%, that's a good chunk. That's a good chunk. Well, 40% of those games, we're ending on alternating 2 point conversions. That's how we want to decide college football. That's how we want to decide one of the biggest things in all of sports, one of the biggest sports in this country. We want to decide from 2 yards away and you get one try. This is just an abomination. Now, I've said it's an abomination. I've explained why it's an abomination. 2 point conversion attempts should not decide the football game unless it's somebody scoring and then going for two. I'm all for that. But just straight up 2 point conversion attempt, no good. No good. We're trying to shorten 5% of the games. 5% of the if it's 5% of the games, let's just let them go as long as they want. Let them go as long as they want. But 40% of those 5 we're shortening, not good. Not good. We're almost majority shortening the minority of those games. Now, that was a mouthful. If you're following, you're a wizard because that didn't make a lot of sense what I just said there. But what the gist is, of this few multiple overtime games we get a year, almost half of those multiple overtime games a year are coming down to a play I could draw up on a whiteboard at the 2 yard line. And it probably isn't a good one. And then the defense wins because they stopped a 2 point conversion attempt. That's not what we want. That's not what we want in college football right now. It's a travesty and it's sad. Now, I promised we would come up with a solution for this, and we have one. We have one. What is the solution? Well, it's very, very simple. The best way to fix the overtime rules in college football right now is do what the NFL's doing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's an even worse system right now. The best way to fix it is just go back. Go back to the 1996 to 2019 rules. Just have the first overtime rules be the rules for every single overtime. You get the ball at the 25-yard line, you play football. Other team gets the ball at the 25-yard line, and you play football, and then you go until there's a winner. What who was complaining about this? And if they were, send them my way. I'd love to talk to them, and I'd love to say, hey, you were wrong. Look how we're ending college football right now. Now, I get it. It's only 5% of the games, but it's sad. It's sad. I want all 100% of the games to be awesome endings. I don't want 5% sad endings on 2 point conversion attempts. And I'm sure you don't either. And that's why we're talking about it. That's why we talk about the tough things on the Ian Fritz show here. That's what we do. We talk about everything. And this is a big issue. That's why it's number 10 on the list. That's all I have for the show. Got to fix the overtime rules, get rid of this 2 point conversion garbage, and let's just go play football at the 25-yard line for every single overtime. Let's do that forever. It was awesome. We need it back. I want it back. I'm sure you want it back. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that, if you disagree with that. And if you're new here, we got a lot of new viewers to the channel right now. Just click that subscribe button, like the video, comment down below what's another issue that we should talk about in this series of the biggest issues in college football right now. Comment down below. Hey, this is my biggest issue with college football right now, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on the show. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of this series. It's going to come out a couple days after this episode, but episode number 2, ninth worst thing about college football, coming up later in the week. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game.